Good afternoon and welcome to another inReach Field Experience webinar. Today we are going to be talking about the Alpha 200i and our inReach technology. Before we get started, a couple of quick notes. This webinar will be recorded, so feel free to just enjoy the presentation. If you have anything you want to check out, you can look at our support site later. It will be posted there when it's available. We will have the slides are available in the notes section of GoToWebinar, and we will be answering questions at the end of the webinar, so please feel free to type any questions you might have into the questions section of GoToWebinar. We have people helping us today that will be answering them directly or saving them to the end for us to talk more about. So to get started, my name is Chip Noble. I'm an inReach product manager here at Garmin. And as you can see from my picture with myself and my dog Beezy, I'm an avid outdoorsman and an upland bird hunter. We're very excited to be joined today by Sean and Erica. They are both part of our dog product segment here at Garmin, and they know lots about the Alpha 200i. So welcome, Sean and Erica, and would you mind sharing a little bit about yourselves with our listeners?
Thanks, Chip. Appreciate that. My name is Sean Hayes. I am the manager of an engineering development facility for Garmin, and also the product manager for all of our dog products. I've been involved in dog products pretty much all my professional life, and have been a lifelong lover of dogs and all the great things they can do. Erica is also has a similar pedigree in terms of multiple decades of experience making products for dogs. And both of us are just very excited to be here today and to talk a little bit more about Alpha 200i and inReach.
That's great, Sean. Well, we are excited. We're going to talk about the Alpha 200i and the specific dog features, and then we're also going to spend time talking about the inReach technology that is part of the Alpha 200i and how that can be used for to enhance the hunting experience and just general communication for the device. And so I'm glad that you're here with me, and I think to start off, we'll actually look at some of the dog specific features of the Alpha 200i. And so I'm going to turn control of the presentation over to you, Sean, so that you can lead, and I think you should have control now.
Okay, sounds good. So Alpha 200i is actually the culmination of a number of years of work and development that was based on previous dog tracking products that we made, using those products, listening to our customers, and trying to then start over basically from the ground up to make the ideal dog tracking system. And that's what Alpha 200i is intended to be. So we're going to go through some of the features and the differences between maybe previous products and this product, and just sort of the core functions of what Alpha 200i can do. So Alpha 200i features a brand new screen for us. This is a capacitive touch panel. It's a 3.5-inch touchscreen. So what you're really getting with that is a pretty large screen that's kind of exactly the right size for all the information you might want to see on there about your dogs. It's very good for mapping, obviously, but also is just kind of that right size and shape to fit in your hand and just be a very functional screen. The other thing that the screen has that's a little different from previous models that we've made is this screen does a really good job in direct sunlight, but then also works really well in low light conditions as well. So it really is designed to kind of be there where you use your dogs. The 6-button design on the Alpha 200i is designed to put the things that you use the most kind of right at your fingertips. So it is a touch panel product, so you can use your normal navigation kind of like you would on a phone to navigate around the 200i, but sometimes you want to make quick adjustments or not really take your eyes off what your dog is doing. And that's where that 6-button design really comes in and shines and lets you operate the product without having to really change the focus of what you're doing. Of course, with Alpha 200i, we brought inReach technology into the product. The big thing that I think about with inReach technology for 200i, it certainly has all the features about safety and things that Chip will talk about. But the other everyday feature it has that's really useful for people that use Alpha 200i is communication. It keeps you in touch with your friends, your family, your loved ones, and lets them know what your status is, maybe plans have changed, things of that nature. So really a very valuable addition to the product. Alpha 200i also works with the Garmin Explore app, and what this lets us do is this lets us take dog tracks that we've gathered over the course of an activity and then display those in the Explore app and actually replay them and be able to manipulate them and save them. So you could really kind of go back and analyze, hey, what were my dogs doing today? Did all the dogs stay together? Did they split up? Kind of what's going on. So it's a really cool way to kind of look back at the day's activities. We also have battery life of 20 hours in normal mode and then 15 hours with inReach technology enabled. So if you think about that, that's certainly good for an all day long hunt. So it lets you really be able to go out there and have confidence that your gear is going to be lasting as long as your hunt might last as well. This battery is also user replaceable. So if you're going to be gone for a really extended period of time, you could even actually change the battery in the field if you needed to. So of course we have really good mapping on Alpha 200i, being a product from Garmin. Mapping is an important feature for us. So the topoactive mapping lets you really get an idea of the terrain around you and then kind of figure out, okay, if my dog is going here, which way do I go to get where I need to be in relation to that dog? We also give you public land boundaries, which help you stay where you're supposed to be when you're hunting, basically. They kind of let you know, hey, am I on private land here, public land? Is this a national park? Where am I standing? So it kind of helps you get a sense of that right there from the map. And then a really interesting improvement in Alpha 200i versus the previous generation product. We now have the ability to download bird's eye satellite imagery directly to the handheld. So you don't need a computer, you don't need a cable, you don't have to figure all that stuff out. You just basically select what you want and you can download it right to the device. It's pretty simple and gives you a really good view of the area that you're hunting in. 200i is also compatible with a lot of additional mapping products. Probably one of the more interesting ones is the HuntView Plus series of maps, but we are compatible with all the other maps that Garmin provides for outdoor and recreation activities. Those are all easily installed on this unit as well. In terms of navigation and sensors, one of the first things that we thought about with 200i is, hey, what other features would be great to really be able to just simply keep an eye on where your dogs are at and just have sort of distance and direction tracking, just kind of a glance of where the dogs are engaged in their activity at the moment. And that's where the ProView Compass comes in. That gives you a very simple, as you can see on the screen, distance and direction, color coded to the dog, and just kind of lets you know, hey, they're all together, they're not together. You can make decisions based on what you see there. 200i has been updated with the latest navigation sensors. So this includes the altimeter, the compass, basically the latest and greatest of everything under the hood to make sure that your tracking is as accurate as it can be, and the product has all the features that we can kind of pack into there. We also continue to have multiple GNSS support. So what this does is if you're in conditions where the normal GPS satellite constellations may not be as in view, perhaps other satellite constellations are in better view. And by having this multiple GNSS support, we can take advantage of those other constellations as well, which leads to greater accuracy for the product. So we can keep track of up to 20 dogs, or you can also think of it as 20 assets, because we can also track other handhelds with this system at one time. So that means every 2.5 seconds, and this rate is a little bit adjustable, but every 2.5 seconds, you get an update of where all the things you're tracking are located, and that location is plotted on the screen for you. One of the things that's really cool on 200i is we also now have the ability to save dogs that we're not actively tracking. So if Chip and I are going to go for a hunt and I want to be able to track Chip's dogs as well as my own, I can actually create a group for Chip's dogs. And then whenever we go hunting together, I can just activate his group and I get all the tracking information for all of his dogs. I don't have to repair anything. It makes setup and getting going so much faster at the beginning of a hunt or an activity. We also have hunt metrics. Those do a lot of different things, but one of the really useful features of hunt metrics is to be able to see how long has your dog been running or been out on a given day. So that lets you assess, hey, it's been about 4 hours, maybe we need to take a break, and you kind of can keep track of your dog's run time that way and really make sure things stay safe. Alpha 200i still has the same great training features that we've been known for in our previous products. Those work the same and came through the design just like they were in the past. So all these specifications really add up to a world-class tracking handheld that really is the culmination of almost a decade of experience in this kind of product. And so far, we're really pleased with how it's done, and it's really a great product to use if you have the chance to do so. One of the other things that we thought was really important with Alpha 200i was to maintain compatibility with our existing product ecosystem. So if you already have an Alpha 100, if you have a TT15, a T5, any of these products, Alpha 200i still works with all the products you already have. So you can just basically get Alpha 200i and be ready to go and start using it. You don't have to get new dog devices or kind of reinvent your whole system. And you can visit Garmin.com and see more about compatibility and the different products that work with this system. One of the other things that we've tried to do is make sure that not only are we compatible with your existing dog devices, but we're also compatible with a range of other Garmin products that you can use as an endpoint for your tracking data. So you could use a Phoenix 6 and show your tracking data on your wrist, just take a quick glance down, make sure that all your dogs are where you think they are, and kind of go about your day out in the field. You could also check on your dogs from your truck using a Drive Tracker tread unit, and same deal. You can see where they're at, you can navigate to them and actually find the best path to get to your dogs. Basically, we're just trying to put tracking information everywhere it needs to be in your adventure so that you're always comfortable and confident that your dogs are safe and you can enjoy your time outside. We have a range of accessories that really let you customize your Alpha 200i experience for whatever works best for you. Some really great car mounts that let you put the handheld wherever you need it to be in your car, replaceable battery packs like I mentioned, and even external antennas that can extend the range and help with product performance. I think that is it for me, Chip.
Okay. Thank you. That was a great introduction to the Alpha 200i. I know for myself, having used the previous version of the Alpha with BZ hunting, it's very exciting to see all of the new features and the things that the system does. One of the important parts for us having this webinar and talking with folks who have the Alpha 200i was really to drive home some of the benefits of the inReach technology. The I in Alpha 200i is for inReach capabilities. So when we first brought inReach to Garmin to the GPS map device, that for me was a great opportunity for Garmin's best backpacking and hiking device to have inReach added to it. Now we've done the same thing with your dog products. The Alpha 200, the Alpha series is a great dog track and train product. And now we have with the 200i inReach. So we wanted to go through some of the features. I know the folks who have joined us today are specifically interested in the Alpha lineup. So we wanted to share. And the key when we get started, really the reason for inReach, it's all about staying in touch using the the inReach technology. And that means that you can use, excuse me, the Iridium satellite network so that you can communicate, you can stay in touch with friends and family back home, with other people who are hunting with you during your trip. All these things can be done without the use of cell phone. You don't need to have cell phone coverage. This can be done anywhere in the world. And that Iridium satellite network is great because those satellites have global coverage. It allows you to send and receive messages. It also, should you have an emergency, and we're going to look at that in a little bit in more detail, but you can declare an SOS with an inReach system. You can do other things like requesting a weather forecast. If you want to know what kind of weather is going to be coming in during your hunt, you can do that. And the beauty of it is that it all works while you're off the grid. You can learn more about that at the Garmin.com website in the inReach section. And there is a little note there to remember. inReach technology does require an active satellite subscription. That is what activates your device to work with the Iridium satellites. So a little high level about inReach technology. So some of the features that you can do, and I mentioned staying in touch, being able to send a message. And that's really exciting because the device allows you to not only send, but also receive a message. Then you can have two-way communication, and that can be with folks, friends and family at home, but it can also be while you're in the field talking to them. You see this message, buck is headed your way, about 2 miles out. Oh, sorry, I got ahead of myself. So with that two-way messaging, the really nice thing about the Alpha 200i is that it has a touchscreen. So now I can create a custom message very conveniently. I can use the touchscreen keyboard to type. You see things like suggested words and auto-completing words, things that really are designed to make it efficient so that you can send your message and then get back to enjoying the hunt. I want you to be able to stay focused on the activity. And then I mentioned inReach to inReach messaging. Not everyone realizes this, but you can use your inReach device and send a message to someone in your group. Each device has an addressable inReach address. It ends in @inreach.garmin.com. You can find the inReach address in the settings for the device, and then you could share that with other people who are out on a hunt with you, and you can message each other. So nobody has cell phone coverage, but you are still connected using your inReach technology so that you can send messages. If you are separated from people in the hunting party and you can't speak, you can send text messages. Another piece that some folks find interesting, the ability to share updates. In the hunting space, oftentimes I will share a message to Facebook if I've been particularly successful and I want my buddies to know that it was a good day. I can post to Facebook with a little message about how BZ and I are doing. So an interesting, fun feature there for inReach messaging. Additional things that you can do with the inReach device, even though you're outside of cell phone range, you can request a weather forecast. This is really powerful because you can get details about what's happening, and those are, there's different levels. There is a basic forecast that is just a message. Then there's a premium forecast that has longer duration in the information. If you've gone and you're camping and hunting, you can get a forecast that goes out for further number of days. Sorry, and then you have three types of basic forecast I just described, and then that premium forecast, which does have an additional charge but goes out longer. And then for folks in the marine space, there is a marine forecast that you can request, and that will provide specific details for people on the water. So weather forecasts are very useful and exciting thing you can do with inReach. I want to talk a little bit about map share. For folks who have joined us on past webinars, we talk a lot about how you can share a link with your friends and family, and that allows them to see a map like you see here. It shows the breadcrumb trail for where you are. This is a particular spot where BZ and I hunted in the past. And you can actually post messages to MapShare so people can follow along and see how your activity is going. You note there, this was first woodcock flush and retrieve for BZ, so it was very exciting, and I wanted to share that with folks. I was able to do that using MapShare. You can configure it. I know for a lot of people, particularly in the hunting space, you don't want to put all of your bird covers out there for people to discover. So you can password protect your MapShare page. You can put controls on it. You can manage what kind of information is displayed. The feature is very powerful, and so definitely don't worry that you'll be releasing all of your favorite hunting spots into the wild for the general public to see it. You can also enable location pings. That's one of the checkboxes there. Excuse me. And you can share your MapShare link. So I described that. The last piece is MapShare is important because this is how your friends and family can actually reach out to you. If you have provided your MapShare link for people, they can go there, they can select the message icon in the page, and it will actually bring up the dialogue that just appeared there. You can put in your phone number or your email address, and then you can type a message. Your friends and family can do that. And then that message will be sent to the inReach user, the person who is out hunting with their Alpha 200i. They receive that message and then they can reply. And that's a powerful tool because you realize we talk a lot about the device user being able to communicate, but sometimes it's actually being able to hear back from friends and family, an update about how things are going. Maybe there's a message from home that you want to receive before your hunt is over. There's a lot of times when it's communication coming from home. That's the important part of staying connected. So definitely want folks to know about their MapShare page and how to use it for tracking. An important part of the device is certainly the SOS capabilities, and that is, there's a physical SOS button on the side of the device. That is something that we use. If you have an emergency, you open that SOS door, you press and hold the button until you see the SOS countdown timer, and then you know that a message is going to be sent to the Garmin IRCC. That is the 24/7 monitoring service that Garmin offers. And when they receive that message, then you know that you have a real person on the other end, and they're going to reply. It gives you that peace of mind that there's someone handling the emergency. And we'll look at a slide that shows the process, but they reach out to local area search and rescue, and they act as the dispatcher on your behalf and keep you well connected and well informed during the process. I got ahead of myself there as well. So the benefits, as we talked about, it uses that 100% global Iridium satellite network, the Garmin IRCC using two-way communication. When you declare your SOS, it does turn on tracking. And for folks, when you resolve your emergency, you can cancel that SOS. And the last bullet there just talks about how there are several different ways that you can declare. We find most people go to the physical SOS button on the side of the device. It's very conveniently located, but there are additional ways you can declare an SOS from the Explore app. And you can also, as Sean pointed out, if you have your Garmin watch paired to your Alpha 200i, you can declare an SOS from the inReach remote widget that is on your watch. So a lot of powerful tools there for SOS, really making sure that you are able to interact with the Garmin IRCC. So a little bit about the IRCC. And I'll open this up just so I don't get ahead of myself again. The Garmin International Emergency Response Coordination Center, that is the team that I mentioned on the previous slide. And so they are the world leaders in emergency response, and it's 24/7 staff. There's always someone there and available when you have an emergency. You can see from the picture here, there have been over 6,000 inReach SOS incidents that have been addressed or handled by the IRCC, and then 13,000 emergencies overall, but within inReach 6,000. and that's in over 200 countries and territories. So really a very experienced and wonderful staff to have there for you should you have that emergency. And they handle multiple languages, so that's important when people think about traveling internationally. They're able to interact using several different techniques for working international. And so this slide here shows the process. I alluded to it, but let's talk quickly about what happens. So as the Alpha 200i user, when you have an emergency, you press and hold that SOS button, and that triggers the SOS, and the message is sent with your location to the IRCC. They are able to look at your account. They can see any of your contact details, any emergency notes that you might have put into the system. We talk in our SOS webinar about the importance of setting up your system, making sure you have all those details put in. That's because the IRCC will use those. From there, they'll respond to the person with the Alpha 200i. They'll ask for any details. Is it a medical emergency? Is it an equipment failure? If you're able to reply and give more detail, that's a great thing. If not, we always reassure our users not to worry. That doesn't change how they may respond. We always describe our SOS process as being an effort to provide as much detail as possible to the local area search and rescue team that will come to provide assistance. So the IRCC's job really is to facilitate that communication back and forth between the person in the field having the emergency and the group of responders that are going to help. So they will try and do that with the person using the device. They'll also reach out to emergency services, and that is the group that will actually administrate the rescue. The IRCC is really just a dispatch to help provide them with details. They will update the person in the field. The Alpha user will get updates from the IRCC throughout the course of the rescue, making sure that they know exactly what's happening. There is actually a note there. Sometimes they will provide contact information for that local area search and rescue group so that you can talk directly to the responder. That's something that the Alpha 200i is capable of doing. You get a little link to click in the message thread, and it connects you to the actual search and rescue people. So a lot of cool things that you can do with the system. The other thing that the IRCC does is while they're working with emergency services, they also reach out to your emergency contacts, partly to see if they can gather any more information about what you might be doing. We always coach people to plan your trip and then make sure that you follow your plan when you're on your trip. So if you have provided that detail to your emergency contact, they may be able to share that with the IRCC, who can then pass it along to that local area search and rescue team. The communication then can go, the next part here is talking about how you can use the Alpha 200i not only to communicate with the IRCC, but you can also communicate directly with your friends and family. That's something that is a great feature for Alpha and for any of the inReach devices. You could message your loved ones and say, this is what's happening. I'm experiencing an emergency. Help is on the way. You may have heard from the IRCC for details. That kind of communication is certainly available with the device. And then as I mentioned, the IRCC will stay as that communication hub between all of the different parties involved in the rescue. And then once the emergency has been resolved, they will reach out and they'll ask the user to cancel the SOS. And that is just so that they can make sure they keep track of the system and through the entire process. So real high level, but that's the detail for SOS. If anyone is interested, we do have a webinar where we do a deep dive into how all of our inReach devices handle SOS emergencies. That's available on our support site. We have a lot of questions that come in about SOS. I'll just answer a few of those high-level questions here. When can you trigger an SOS and who will respond? Well, something that we say is there's actually no one-size-fits-all kind of way to describe SOS. And I've heard this in a emergency response session that I attended that was presented where you should use a device like inReach with SOS when you are unsure of the outcome of the situation, meaning it may be a tough time, but you know how to handle it. At that point, you could proceed on your own. But as soon as you hit a point where you're just not sure exactly how things are going to go, that is the right time to reach out to search and rescue. They have a process and a large list of resources that they can use. So it doesn't have to be a medical emergency each time. It could just be that you need assistance because you're in a really remote location and your vehicle isn't working, so you need help there. It could be that you found another situation, like maybe it's someone that's not even in your party or something like that. For calls like this where we're talking with people, it could be an emergency with your dog and you want to reach out and get some help for that as well. So there's no one size fits all for everything. It's based on the individual situation, and the IRCC has the resources to help you. And as I mentioned, the first responders, the boots on the ground, those are the people who will determine the best way to conduct the rescue. The IRCC is the dispatcher. And remember during the rescue that you can message back and forth with them. And then we have one additional note here. We do encourage everyone to be mindful of the fact that the people who are going to come out and assist you, they will end up in the same conditions that you are in. So try and look ahead and anticipate. And if you see that the weather has turned inclement or dark, evening is coming, those are the right times to consider changing plans and ending your trip, even if you haven't made it to your destination, that sort of thing. So be mindful of the rescuers who are going to come and assist you. We talked to everyone about the fact that you can test your inReach device. There is a process for that. If you go to the IRCC.com website, you can learn more about how to set up a test of your inReach SOS feature. Can I trigger an SOS for another person or an event? And I alluded to this before. You certainly can. In fact, a fair number of our inReach rescues are for third parties, for people that were not actually in the group for the person who had the inReach device. So you can trigger an SOS for yourself or for another individual, or may not even be a person. It may be something like a wildfire. And you see here the notes about how in the photo how Idaho State bow hunters use their inReach devices during an evacuation. You can learn more about that on our blog. So if someone is borrowing your device, they can also use the inReach SOS feature. They do not need to be the device owner. And any fees, we do tell people, any fees that are incurred during that rescue, those go to the individual for whom the SOS was triggered. So keep that in mind as well. A lot of people ask, what does a rescue cost? And the challenge there is really, it is determined by the laws and regulations for the location where you're traveling. So we encourage everyone, when you have that bucket list hunt, that special trip, check in with the state where you're going to be traveling and make sure you know if there are any policies about passing the costs of an SOS along to the user. And so really just make sure you're informed, and then you can check in again local for that information. Our blog is a great location to learn more about how people are using inReach technology and how we've helped for everything from people to the pets that they have with them when they go hunting or traveling in the backcountry. If you go to Garmin's blog, you can read each of these stories and learn more about people's device use. There are inReach plans, as I mentioned at the very beginning. An inReach device like the Alpha 200i does require an active satellite subscription. That is what gives you access to all of the great inReach features like tracking and messaging, weather, and SOS. There are personal plans for consumers. These are designed for a plan per inReach device. We package the plans in a couple of different ways. One is a freedom plan. This is very popular, particularly with hunters that have seasonal device use. You can pay by the month and choose the level of plan. And then at the end of your season, you could choose to suspend the service. There's also an annual plan for people who know that they have activities that span the full calendar year. And it's a little more affordable at that level, and runs for the full year. So a lot of flexibility. You get to choose. Do you want it month by month, or do you want to pay for the entire year? There's also a professional system for users that allows multiple users and devices in the same account. That's great for organizations and teams, and we know that the Alpha device is a popular device in some of those kind of scenarios. This is a chart that shows the full inReach plan system, and so you see here, not only is there the annual and the monthly option, but there are also different levels. So at the safety plan level, you have access to all of the safety features in all plans, and then all of the plans also include unlimited check-in messages or preset messages. You get 10 custom messages in the safety plan, and then you pay overages for things like tracking and additional messages. I encourage people to consider the recreation plan for folks, particularly if you're doing a lot of tracking or navigating. That gives you unlimited tracking. So at the beginning of your hunt, you can start tracking, and then your map share gets an update every 10 minutes. And then from there, the expedition plan adds in unlimited messaging. So if you're going to be doing a lot of texting during your trip, you should choose that plan, and it also increases the tracking to 2-minute interval. Professional Flex plan is same idea, basic, advanced, and unlimited, and you see here the pricing for those plans as well. So some different, lot of different options for how you may configure your data plan for your inReach device. Our Explore website is where people will go to manage the system. It's also where you can go to plan your trip with routes and waypoints. And so really think about it as planning before the hunt, organizing your data, syncing the data to the device. The trip planning piece, you see the waypoint tool. It allowed for this scenario to drop in a few waypoints and then draw the planned path for the hunt. You get access to aerial imagery and topographic data. You can create collections. After the hunt is over, you can sync the data back to the system, or you can look at your inReach traffic and review how the trip went. Did you discover a new area that you weren't thinking about? Now you have the line to show how to get back there. You can create waypoints around that after. So planning and reviewing. Also where you could go to import content, say you're planning a special trip and you've researched it online, and someone else has shared the GPX file that has the waypoints and the track for how you may get into that location. You can import that as well. And then the other piece that happens is when you finish your trip using the Garmin Explore app connected to your Alpha 200i, you can sync all of the user data that you created. I know for myself, I'll drop waypoints where I flush birds. That helps me keep track of covey locations and kind of general patterns over time of how birds are moving in the area. You can put all of that on the device, then sync it through the app to the website. So you have cloud storage of all of that great user data, and you can go back and look at it year to year. The Explore website is also where you go to manage your subscription, everything from your contacts, your emergency notes. It's where you would go to set up predefined messages or check-in messages that you can send with the device. And also, as I mentioned, those map share settings, those are part of the Explore website, your account settings and billing information. The Explore app is an exciting tool with the Alpha 200i because it allows you to visualize all of the content that's on the device, but on your phone, giving you, access to that data when you're out there. It does not require Wi-Fi or cellular service. It works when you're disconnected. You could put your phone into airplane mode, and it lets you extend what the Alpha 200i can do onto your phone for an alternate input. some screens showing a little bit about trip planning that lets you to create waypoints, create routes, organize the data. You can do that. You get access to the same kind of aerial imagery that you have on the website. Now you can see it on your phone. It gives you great references for land cover, what kind of features you're looking at. Helps you find the edges when you're bird hunting. It provides all of this capability when you're disconnected. So it's downloaded and cached on the phone. You don't need to have a Wi-Fi or cellular connection. And with your Alpha 200i, it is also a great tool for creating messages. If you want to use your phone, leave the Alpha clipped to your back, that sort of thing. So you can use it for all of the inReach functionality, messaging, tracking, weather forecasts, SOS, that sort of thing. Some dog features, specific dog features. This is what we mentioned in the beginning. You can see the location and the breadcrumb trail, the track that you're up to 20 of your dogs followed while you were out hunting. Very useful when you want to monitor what parts of, what areas you've covered, what areas you haven't covered, that sort of thing. It lets you save your hunt data, recording each of your hunts into its own collection. Very handy for organizing the data so you can then go back and find it based on when you were hunting in that area. And as I mentioned, the data from the Alpha goes into the Explore app and then gets synced up to the Explore website for cloud storage, so you don't have to worry about it being just on that local device. There's a feature that allows you to play back the activity. So if you want to see where all of the dogs were at a particular time, you can monitor that with the activity playback feature. And you can also make changes to the way that each of your dogs is visually represented on the screen. So if it helps you to remember by dog collar, or that sort of thing, you have access to make changes. Some additional resources for everyone. There are a few different spots. You can go to the Garmin support site and learn more about the Alpha 200i or any of the apps or devices from Garmin. That's support.garmin.com. There is a fish and hunt blog site for Garmin where you can learn more about hunting related topics, and the Alpha 200i review here, that link as well for people looking for additional details about the Alpha 200i. Some additional inReach resources. This is the links that we share after each of our webinars: explore.garmin.com to manage your system, garmin.com/inReach for any of your questions about the data plans, and then some webinars for people who might be interested listed here, and the blogs that are specific to inReach are Saved by Garmin and the Outdoor blog. So a lot of content. Again, these slides are available for download in the handout section of GoToWebinar, so don't feel like you have to be jotting any of this down.